Welcome. It's your boy Monts. Game week 3 of the EPL. This is Man United versus Burnley. And it's the Armchair Pundits post-match review for Manchester United. So, as you can see, I'm draped in my Manchester United drip. And I've got a bit of a smile on my face. For a few reasons, to be quite honest. Happy with Man United's performance today. It did take for a last-minute goal for it to be complete euphoria. But overall, I will say that we deserved the points and we definitely deserved to score our own goals today. There's so many things to unpack on this, so I'm going to try and be as quick, also as thorough as I usually am. But you've got to make sure before you even get into this, you click that like button, you click that subscribe button, and also make sure you follow us on all our links: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and any of the others that I might have forgotten. Yes, so like a lot of the United fans, complete euphoria and elation beyond belief. I mean, our first 3 points of the season, we're officially, I would argue, we've officially got our season up and running. We've got 2 different goal scorers, first win at home, and it feels good. It feels really good. Pinch of salt is that it was against Burnley, but you have to beat who's in front of you. Did we get a little bit of help from VAR? Maybe. But at the end of the day, if you're going to grab someone's shirt in the middle of the box, on the edge of the box, you're asking for trouble in the 95th minute. So there you have it. Man United 3, Burnley 2. So let's just run through this. It's going to be a little bit over the place, like I said, but we're going to try and make sense out of the madness that was Man United versus Burnley today. So we had a dramatic stoppage time winner. For me, you can't turn off. You just can't turn off. Being a United fan all through the years, if there's one thing that I've learned, it's not over until that whistle goes. And today highlighted that massively. It felt a little bit like Man United of old. It felt a lot like a winning spirit. And it felt, you could see on the pitch at full time how much everybody needed that. Even a wry little smile from Amorim, trying to hide it, but you could see that he was overjoyed with the performance. He stuck to his guns. He stayed true to his formation and lineup. He had Bayern in goal, De Ligt, Euro and Shaw back 3. He had Diallo and Dallo left and right wing backs, should I say. Bruno and Casemiro were deep line centre midfielders. You had Mount and Mbumo in the 10 role. And then you had Cunha, central, false 9. But obviously they all alternate. Now in the first 45 minutes, I've got to be honest, Mbumo, Diallo, Euro, and even Mount were exceptional for me. They were aggressive. They were clean in terms of with the passing. They were really on the front foot from the jump. They were trying to win, they were taking more risks. And I feel like that's also what we were missing a little. But by far, this has been the best game, not for just winning 3 points at Old Trafford, but more so for the overall performance. Like I've said in the previous pods, Man United have had great starts to all our EPL games, in my opinion. And it normally comes to around 20, 25 minutes and then the energy drops. We either concede or we look really quite disjointed. Today was more of the same, except for the disjointed part of things. We didn't. We kind of still look galvanized. We still look hungry. And that showed. 26th, 27th minute, Man United get a corner, clip it into the box. Casemiro's free as a bird, headers towards goal, off the crossbar, off a Burnley player, past the Bravcar. Excellent. Couldn't ask for anything more. Couple of minutes later, the ball gets clipped over the back of the defence again. Cunha's on a 1v1 foot race with their centre-back, but he pulls up, immediately showing signs to substitute. He knows that he's pulled something. For me, I think it's a hamstring. So I reckon we've got to wait until later on this evening / tomorrow to see how bad that is and how long he'll be out for. But that will be a massive miss for Man United, to be honest with you, because, again, he's been one of our shining lights from the beginning of the season and even through part of pre-season when he joined. So Man United in the first half, we were pretty at it, to be quite honest to you. We were very, very aggressive. We had 15 shots on goal, 4 of which were on target, which you could argue those are not good numbers, but at the end of the day, that's a lot better than what we've been showing in previous matches, and that includes last season. We had 2 big chances, 5 corners, and we had around about, I think we had about 60 to 65% of the possession in the first half. So Burnley were under it. They were literally getting piled the pressure on. And I don't think they could feel like they can get out of this. However, there was a moment towards the end of the first half where I thought to myself, if we don't get a goal, I can see Burnley equalise it. They get the ball out wide to the right-hand side. The ball gets... Dalot doesn't close down the winger, which I'm not a fan of the way he defends. He stands off way too much when he should really get a lot closer. So there's less of an angle for the winger to pass. But I guess because he's not quick, he likes to give more space, so he has more of an angle to run in, to cut off the run. But either which way, the winger gets it for Burnley. They cut the ball across the box. Hannibal, ex-Man United academy player, is arguably free in the middle. He takes a touch and puts the ball over the net. Over the crossbar, sorry. I was so happy. The relief, woof. Because had we have conceded at that point in the game when we were piling on the pressure, it would have just been the same old thing that we've been crying about in the last 2 or 3 matches, to be quite honest with you. So that in itself was what Man United needed, to just go into half-time, not conceding, or at least going into half-time winning, which we did. So I feel like, for me, in half-time, I wanted more of the same coming out. I wanted the same energy, and I wanted to see more guile from the Man United players, more risk-taking in the right places. Now, going into the second half, we made a substitution straight away. We brought on my boy Mainu. Free Mainu. Free him. He came on for Mount, which meant, and I forgot to mention earlier, when Cunha came off because he done his hamstring injury, Xerxes came on. When Mainu came on, he went deep line with Casemiro, and Bruno went further up the pitch, which you would argue is probably the right decision to make there, because then you've got a real number 10. I say real number 10. You got a number 10, and Bruno's in his ideal place, really, just behind the attacking 2 or 3, and he can create more chances. So we had Xerxes, Bruno, and Mbeumo. Now, I was happy with this, to be quite honest with you. And within the first, 10 minutes, we conceded. Deflated is an understatement, to be quite honest, because it was against the run of play in terms of we had all the possession, we had most of the attacks, and Burnley weren't really showing any signs of giving us any trouble. But do I need to mention what happened for the first goal? Goalkeeping error, maybe? We need a new goalkeeper, guys. I don't know if Lemens is the answer. but we need a new goalkeeper. We need someone in the sticks that have got safe hands, that when they save the ball, they're not going to put the ball back into the danger area. We really do need it, because ultimately, you're going to really struggle to win games if your keeper's not great and then the defense in front of them will lack confidence. So it's vital that we get that role corrected ASAP. Now, just going back to the game, we had a couple goalkeeping errors today from Bayern there. I would argue that they costed us the goal, one of the goals. And also, our back line was a little bit all over the place for one of the Burnley goals as well. I feel like De Ligt and Shaw were out of position and Yoro had two people to mark. But for me, whether or not Yoro communicated that to them or De Ligt and Shaw look over their shoulder like you should do as a good defender, either which way, 50 of one, half a dozen of the other, I guess. We need to get it right. We need to get a little bit more cohesion in the Man United squad. And that only comes by us winning games, in my opinion, and also us having good performances. So hopefully today is a stepping stone. When you look at the game in overall, there was controversy with the VAR. Bayern there with his shaky antics as the goalkeeper. The front three still look a little bit disjointed. But overall, you've got to argue that we played against Burnley at home. We got 3 points. It was in a arguably clutch moment. VAR awarded us a penalty. Captain Bruno steps up and slots. And the rest is history. I'm going to just call it a day. I'm not going to talk too much more on it. I'm happy that we got 3 points. I'm happy that the performance was to a level that I expect. But the one thing that I think that's missing for us is the clinical finishing. I think today could have had big numbers on it if we were a little bit more confident in front of goal. So for me now, I think the player ratings are only right. I'm going to start with Bayern there. Already, I think everyone knows he's going to get a 5 from me. He can't get anything more than a 5. He didn't have much to do today. And when he was called up, he didn't answer. So short of making 1 or 2 easy saves, I don't think he deserves anything more than a 5. Yoro, I'm going to give Yoro a 7 today. More of the same from Yoro. Very consistent, very good defensively, very organised. Can't give him more than a 7 because we did concede 2 goals today. De Ligt, same again. I feel like he's done well again. He, for me, will get a 6. His 6 will come from the fact that he was out of place for one of the Burnley goals. I feel like he could have been essential of the 3. He needs to be the most vocal. And at the point that you've got a free striker in the middle of the box, that means the comms are off. Someone isn't speaking enough. And for me, that person needs to be De Ligt. So I'm going to give him a 6. Shaw today, I'll give Shaw a 6 also, because I will hold him accountable for that first goal as well. Although he did show good signs in the attack, getting involved and bringing the ball forward, I feel like more of the danger was coming from his side because of the lack of maybe the communication or the positioning. But outside of that, he had a pretty level-headed game. So that's a 6 for sure. Gonna go on to Diallo. Best game that he's had so far this season for me. I feel like if this is his base and he kicks on from here, we've got a lot of bright things coming in front of us. So I'm going to give him a 7. Casemiro, he had a pretty standard game today. Although I didn't agree with him being in the starting lineup, I feel like he definitely warranted started today. He had a lot of the ball. He moved it pretty quick, but he wasn't moving quickly. So, I have said that we need to find another mobile centre mid, someone that can get around a little bit, someone that's a little bit more athletic. I don't think Casemiro's the answer, but we will hopefully make that right during the course of the rest of this window, but who knows? So Casemiro, he'll get a 7. Dallo, I'm going to give him a 7 also. He got a lot of the ball on the left wing back. He had a good few opportunities to pass the ball into the box to set up a few goals. I feel like the strikers were a little bit on their heels today. So in that sense, they probably let him down. But his overall performance, getting up and down that side, the wide position, pretty good. Again, I'll give him a 7. Bruno, I'm going to give Bruno an 8. I feel like he was taking a lot of risks today, but I feel like anybody that doubted him from the beginning of the season, I feel like, he put that to bed today. He kind of stepped up. He done his thing. He scored the clutch penalty. There was a lot of pressure on that penalty after the way that we crashed out of the Carabao Cup in the middle of this week. So I feel like he had an overall good performance today. He was involved in a lot of chances that we had. There was a good corner. There was a moment that we had a corner that he took. He hit the corner level all the way to Diallo, and Diallo had a volley on goal, which Dubravka had to save. Again, the creative minds linked up and nearly created something special. I would have called out Puskas if that went in, but it didn't. So Bruno gets an 8. Mount, for me, best performance so far this season. I'm going to give him a 7. Didn't do anything outstanding. He just played very well today, and he was involved in a lot of the build-up and even some of the chances that we made. So he gets a 7. In Bumo, again, similar to Bruno in terms of how he impacted the game today. Definitely gets an 8 for me. If anything, if he'd have scored the chances that he missed today, I reckon he would have been on for a hat-trick. So, he could have got a 9 easily today had he scored them chances. But he was heavily involved. He was making the runs outside the fullbacks and beyond the defenders to create more space. And every time he got the ball, you could see how threatening he was looking. So for that reason, he gets an 8. Cunha, didn't see much of him today. Only saw half an hour of him. I can't really give him more than a 6. But that's not because he played badly. It's just because he didn't really get an opportunity to really get into the game. Yes, he had a little bit of influence when he was on the pitch for the first half an hour. But outside of that, I can't really warrant him giving him more than a 6 for me. But it's not based on his performance. Maybe the lack of time on the pitch, I guess. So just to run through the subs, we've got Mainu. I think he came on, played brilliantly when he came on. Had a couple of chances on goal, created a couple of chances as well because he was involved in a few of the chances that were missed, unfortunately. So I'm going to give him a 7. Xerxes, he came on for Cunha. I'm going to give him a 7 as well. I feel like he done well today. And he's done well in the game midweek. And I feel like with more minutes, he would just improve. The guy's hold-up play is outstanding. If Šeško can learn how to hold the ball up like Xerxes does, he'll be amazing. Talking about Šeško, he had some minutes today. To be honest, again, nothing outstanding, but he put himself about, had a good chance to put us 3-2 up, but headed the ball just over the crossbar. So that's an 8 for Šeško. And last but not least, Maserati. He came on for 5 minutes. He's not going to get more than a 6. But that's Mods out. Man United 3, Burnley 2. 3 points on the board. Come on, United!